Mom testified I was delusional, until the NSA deputy director walked in. She thinks she's some spy. My mother sobbed into her handkerchief, her voice perfectly calibrated to evoke maximum sympathy from the courtroom. It's mental illness. It runs in my family, Your Honor. My poor daughter has created this elaborate fantasy world where she works for intelligence agencies. Judge Robert Kellerman nodded sympathetically from the bench, his expression soft with the particular kind of pity reserved for family members dealing with mental health crises. The competency hearing my mother had initiated was going exactly as she'd planned. I sat silent at the defendant's table, my court-appointed attorney beside me looking defeated before we'd even begun. My mother had ambushed me with this hearing, claiming I was a danger to myself and others, that I needed to be institutionalized for my own good. The fact that she'd filed it 3 days after learning I'd refused to co-sign her third mortgage, the one she needed to fuel her gambling addiction, was surely coincidence. She disappears for weeks, Mom continued, warming to her performance. Claims she's on assignments. She has phones that don't work. She pretends they're encrypted. She speaks in code words and acronyms. Classic paranoid delusions. The courtroom was small, intimate, family court rather than criminal. Just the judge, a court reporter, my mother's lawyer, my overwhelmed public defender, and my mother's support group. My brother Kevin, who hadn't spoken to me in 5 years, my Aunt Patricia, who'd always resented my success, and my mother's new boyfriend, Dale, who'd been eyeing my grandmother's trust fund that I managed. Can you give us an example of these delusions? My mother's lawyer, a shark named Brennan, prompted. Last month, she claimed she couldn't attend my birthday because she was in Geneva. Geneva? As if my daughter has ever been to Switzerland. She was probably holed up in her apartment, lost in her fantasies. I had been in Geneva, at the United Nations, briefing the Security Council on cyber threats. But my diplomatic passport was in a safe at Fort Meade, and my work with the National Security Agency wasn't something I could simply announce in a competency hearing. She shows signs of extreme paranoia, Mom added. Won't use social media, claims people are monitoring her. Won't even have Alexa in her home. Says it's a security risk. Judge Kellerman made notes. Has she ever been violent? She owns guns, my mother said dramatically. Multiple firearms. Claims she needs them for protection. Who does she need protection from? It's the paranoia, Your Honor. The judge turned to me. Ms. Davidson, would you like to respond to these concerns? Before I could answer, the courtroom door opened. A woman entered, tall, severe, dressed in an impeccably tailored black suit that screamed federal government. Her hair was steel gray, pulled back in a bun so tight it looked weaponized. She moved with the kind of deliberate precision that made everyone in the room sit straighter. I apologize for interrupting, Your Honor. I'm here for Senior Analyst Davidson. My mother actually laughed. Oh my God, did she call someone to play along? More delusions. The woman's expression didn't change. She reached into her jacket, everyone tensed, and withdrew a leather credential case. She placed it on the judge's bench with deliberate care. Judge Kellerman opened it, and the color drained from his face like someone had pulled a plug. His hands actually trembled as he read whatever was inside. Clear the courtroom, he said, his voice hoarse. Everyone except counsel and immediate parties. Now. Your Honor, Brennan started. This is highly irregular. This is a federal override, the judge said sharply. Deputy Director, I need to verify. The woman, Deputy Director Margaret Lawton, though only a handful of people in the world knew that name, pulled out a phone that definitely wasn't available at any store. She dialed a number from memory. Authentication code Zulu 77 Whiskey. Put me through to the White House Situation Room. A pause. Yes, have them verify my credentials for Judge Robert Kellerman, Eastern District Family Court. She handed the phone to the judge. His already pale face went translucent as he listened to whoever was on the other end. Yes, sir. I understand, sir. No, sir. Immediately, sir. He handed the phone back like it might explode. Your Honor, my mother shrilled. This is obviously. Mrs. Davidson, the judge interrupted, his entire demeanor transformed. Your daughter is not delusional. She's a senior intelligence analyst with the National Security Agency. The things you've described as paranoid delusions are operational security protocols. Mom laughed again, but it sounded forced now. That's ridiculous. She works from home. She's a freelance consultant or something. She can barely use a computer. Deputy Director Lawton spoke for the first time since placing her credentials down. Ms. Davidson holds a TSOSCI clearance with special access programs. She's one of 12 people in the country authorized to access certain intelligence streams. The freelance consulting is her cover story, which you've just blown in open court. She turned to me. Analyst Davidson, we have a situation. The Kremlin intercepts you decoded last week have become actionable. The director needs you at Fort Meade immediately. I stood, straightening my blazer. Understood. This is insane. Kevin burst out. Ashley's not a spy. She's mentally ill. Mom, tell them about the medications. What medications? I asked quietly. My mother's face flickered, gotcha, before resuming its concerned mask. The antipsychotics you should be taking. The ones Dr. Morrison prescribed. Dr. Morrison never prescribed me anything, I said evenly. Because I've never been his patient. You forged those prescriptions, didn't you? Hoping to build a paper trail for this hearing. The deputy director's expression darkened. Forging medical documents is a federal crime. When it involves an intelligence officer, it becomes a matter of national security. She's my daughter. Mom protested. I'm trying to help her. By having her declared incompetent. I asked. By gaining control of Grandma's trust fund that I manage? The timing is interesting, Mom. 3 days after I refused to enable your gambling, you file this petition. Judge Kellerman was reviewing documents the deputy director had provided. According to this, Ms. Davidson has been with the NSA for 12 years. Multiple commendations. Fluent in 6 languages. She's credited with preventing 3 terrorist attacks on American soil. 4. Deputy Director Lawton corrected. The Chicago incident was declassified yesterday. My mother had gone silent, her mouth opening and closing without sound. Your Honor, my public defender finally found his voice. I move for immediate dismissal of all competency claims against my client. Granted, the judge said immediately. Furthermore, I'm referring Mrs. Davidson to the district attorney for investigation of fraud, perjury, and attempted exploitation of a federal officer. Federal officer. Dale, my mother's boyfriend, spoke for the first time. She said Ashley was unemployed, living off inheritance. The inheritance she lives off, I said, turning to him, is the salary the United States government pays me for protecting this nation's secrets. The apartment Mom claims I'm holed up in? It's a SCIF-equipped residence. Those phones that don't work. They operate on classified networks. The code words and acronyms. That's literally my job. Deputy Director Lawton checked her watch. Analyst Davidson, the helicopter is waiting. Helicopter. Kevin whispered. The situation is time-sensitive, she replied. The intelligence you decoded indicates an imminent cyber attack on financial infrastructure. The president will be briefed within the hour based on your analysis. I gathered my things, not much, just the folder I'd brought to defend against my mother's lies. As I passed her table, she grabbed my arm. Ashley, please. I'm your mother. I was worried. No, I said, removing her hand. You were greedy. You knew exactly what I did for a living. I told you as much as I legally could. But when I wouldn't fund your gambling, when I wouldn't let you drain Grandma's trust, you decided to have me committed. That's not. I have the emails, Mom. The ones you sent to Dale planning this. Did you know the NSA monitors all electronic communications involving their analysts? Your conspiracy to have me declared incompetent has been documented for 6 weeks. Her face crumbled, not with remorse, but with the realization she'd been caught. Deputy Director Lawton stepped forward. Mrs. Davidson, you'll be receiving a visit from federal agents within the hour. I suggest you have a lawyer present. We walked toward the door, but I stopped, turning back to face my family one last time. You know what the irony is? I've spent 12 years protecting this country, including protecting you, from threats you can't even imagine. While you were playing poker at the casino, Mom, I was stopping ransomware attacks on the banking system that would have wiped out your accounts. While Kevin was posting conspiracy theories about government surveillance on Facebook, I was using actual surveillance to prevent a dirty bomb in Seattle. Kevin had gone pale. The Seattle threat last year, that was real. Everything I've done has been real, I said. The late nights you mocked me for, saying I had no life. I was tracking terrorist cells. The vacations to strange places. I was stationed at listening posts and black sites. The paranoia about electronic devices. It's not paranoia when you know exactly how vulnerable they are because you've exploited those vulnerabilities yourself. Deputy Director Lawton prompted gently. The president is waiting. As we reached the door, Judge Kellerman spoke. Ms. Davidson, for what it's worth, thank you for your service. And I'm sorry your family didn't recognize what they had. Outside, a black helicopter sat on the courthouse lawn, its rotors already spinning. Federal agents had cordoned off the area, and local police looked stunned. As we walked toward it, Lawton spoke quietly. You know this burns your cover permanently. You'll need to be reassigned. Probably headquarters only from now on. I know, I replied. But it was blown the moment my mother filed that petition. She made the choice for me. The director wants to know if you need time. No, I said firmly. We have a cyber attack to prevent. My family drama can wait. As the helicopter lifted off, I looked down at the courthouse. Through the window, I could see my mother being led away in handcuffs, Kevin standing frozen in shock, Dale apparently yelling at anyone who would listen. They'd tried to paint me as delusional, unstable, lost in fantasies of importance. The truth was far simpler. I was exactly who I'd always told them I was. They just refused to believe their daughter, their sister, could be exceptional. 3 hours later, I sat in a secure facility at Fort Meade, surrounded by the best cyber warfare specialists in the world. On the screens in front of us, we watched as our counteroffensive neutralized what would have been a devastating attack on the Federal Reserve System. Outstanding work, Davidson, the director said over secure comms. Your decryption gave us the 6-hour window we needed. Just doing my job, sir. Your mother's case is being handled. She's looking at 5 to 10 for the fraud and conspiracy charges. Your brother's spreading the story all over social media, claiming government persecution. Let him, I said, already focused on the next set of intercepts. The truth is documented. What people choose to believe is their problem. 6 months later, I received a letter from my mother in federal prison. She begged for forgiveness, claimed she'd been sick, that the gambling had clouded her judgment. She said she was proud of me, that she'd always known I was special. I filed it with the others she'd sent, unread and unanswered. She'd had 12 years to be proud of me. Instead, she'd chosen to call me delusional in open court, to try to have me locked away so she could steal money I was protecting for my grandmother's care. Some bridges, once burned in the name of greed, don't deserve rebuilding. I had work to do, real work, protecting a nation that included the family who'd betrayed me. They'd sleep safely in their beds, never knowing how many threats I'd stopped, how many attacks I'd prevented. They'd called me delusional. But delusions don't decode enemy communications. Delusions don't brief presidents. Delusions don't save lives. I was Senior Analyst Ashley Davidson, National Security Agency, and while my mother sat in prison for trying to destroy me, I continued doing what I'd always done, protecting America, one intercepted communication at a time. The only delusion in that courtroom had been my mother's belief that she could tear down someone who'd spent their entire career in the shadows, fighting battles no one would ever know about. Now everyone knew exactly who I was. And my mother would have the next 5 to 10 years to think about what she'd lost.